Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome back in my channel. This is the second part of my video. The title is Body Fluid. And the first part you can check in my YouTube channel, Zaki Adimi, in playlist Cardio Basic. The title is Recall Video, Body Fluid by Zaki Part 1. Okay, in part 1, I have talked a little bit about body fluid. Let me make a fast recap. So in my first video, I have talked about termination of fluid balance, electrolyte balance, and acid-base balance. And I have talked about intracellular and extracellular component, the different both of them, and how the regulation of main hormone two roles, the fluid and electrolyte regulation. And I have talked a little bit about movement fluid within ACF, between the HCF and the intracellular fluid, and between intracellular fluid to the environment. But in second video, in this video, I will re-explain to you about this. And yeah, just that the content of the part 1 that I have uploaded in my YouTube. Okay, now I will continue my explanation in second part. So I will talk about fluid gains and losses. What is the homeostatic mechanism that keep the fluid gains and losses? There are daily input and daily output of fluid in our body. We can see, I will show you with pointer in table 27.1 water balance. We can see that daily input, the total is 2,500 milliliter each day. How we get daily input for our body? The bigger is from water consumed, and the second is from water content of food such as vegetable and another. The third is metabolic that produced during catabolism, and the major daily output is from urination, and the second is evaporation at skin, at lungs, and in feces. The total is equal, yeah. Between the totals are equal between daily output and daily input of water balance in our body. Okay, the metabolic water, we can see in this picture that metabolic water come from EGF, intracellular fluid, from the cell into the extracellular fluid. How much? The volume input from metabolic water is 300 milliliter, and the side, this side, the mean is water loss in urine. The volume 1,000 milliliter. It is a little bit different with this table because the book is different too. Yes. Okay. Nah, this is a fluid shift or movement fluid between intracellular fluid and extracellular fluid. The two principles are: the first, if the osmotic gradient in HCF higher increase, yeah, the HCF will be hypertonic to the intracellular fluid. So the water will move from the cell to extracellular fluid. I repeat it. So if the osmotic gradient or osmolarity from extracellular fluid higher, the extracellular fluid will be hypertonic to intracellular fluid. So the water, the lipid, the fluid will move from the cell, from the intracellular fluid to the extracellular fluid, and the probably happen that osmotic gradient in extracellular fluid increase when we lost water, but the electrolyte still retain in our body. Yes, this is the first principle. And the second principle is if the osmotic gradient in extracellular fluid decrease or get lower, the extracellular fluid will be hypotonic to intracellular fluid. So the water will be moved from extracellular fluid to intracellular fluid. So the volume of intracellular fluid will be increased, and why this is happen? Why osmotic gradient in extracellular fluid can be low, can decrease? Maybe it happen if we gain water, but we not gain enough electrolyte. I'll tell you too that the volume in intracellular fluid greater than the extracellular fluid. That's why we can say that in intracellular fluid is a water reserve. Okay. Now I will talk a little bit about the case in our body, and it relates with the body fluid mechanism. The first is dehydration. If the dehydration worse, it's gonna be a shock hypovolemic. You know that shock has the shocks has different type. The first shock hypovolemic, the second shock anaphylactic, and other I forgot it. Okay, shock hypovolemic. The mean is the body lost too much water. It's gonna be because of accident or bleeding or dehydration. Yeah. So dehydration, the water lost, but the electrolyte still retained in the body. So the osmolarity or kekentalan or osmolaritas in extracellular fluid will rise. So the water will move from intracellular fluid to extracellular fluid until isotonic. Isotonic, the mean I will explain it in bahasa. Jadi isotonic itu sama ya, iso itu sama, tonic berarti sampai kekentalannya itu sama ya. Oke, I will continue with using English. So both of extracellular fluid and intracellular fluid osmolarity concentrates higher. Yeah, the osmolarity higher because of the water losses. But the volume lower. Yeah, it is the condition, the case of dehydration regulate the homeostatic of body fluid. And the second is vomiting, inadequate drink, and diarrhea. Vomiting in bahasa is muntah, inadequate drink minuman yang kurang cairan ya, and diarrhea. So how the body regulate it. So the major case of vomiting, inadequate drink, and diarrhea is excessive perspiration. In bahasa artinya perspirasi yang berlebihan ya. This condition will promote water losses. So body fluid concentrate increase, the osmolarity of body fluid increase. So the sodium ion concentration, sodium ion such as natrium ya, will be higher, and this condition we call it by hyperatremia. So then what's our body mechanism to make the body fluid normal. The first is secreting ADH, antidiuretic, or vasopressin and renin. And the second is increasing fluid intake. It's gonna be stimulate in uh, thirsty stimulator in our brain that will stimulate us to be thirsty and drink a lot of water. And the third is gonna be, it can be a gut infusion. The infusion contain a lot of water, ya. The infused contain a lot of water, so it can be it can make the extracellular fluid volume increase because the osmolarity or kekentalan decrease in bahasa. Jadi logikanya infusnya itu mengandung banyak air sehingga kekentalan itu kan itu apa? Airnya tuh dikit ya, sehingga osmolaritas dari ECF itu kental. Nah, karena kita masukkan infus yang banyak air, maka osmolaritas dari ECF menurun, ya. And I'll continue with English. So, if the ECF osmolarity higher, the water will move from intracellular fluid to extracellular fluid. But when we have gotten, but after getting infusion with that contain a lot of water, the osmolarity of extracellular fluid will decrease and the water move back from extracellular fluid to the intracellular fluid, and homeostatic can be reached from that mechanism. And the third case in our body, that our body we give our body with hypotonic solute, or bahasa cairan hipotonik. So the condition, the extracellular fluid volume increase, become hypotonic to intracellular fluid. So we can conclude that in intracellular fluid, the osmolarity higher, yeah. The fluid shift happen, from extracellular fluid, the fluid move into the intracellular fluid and make the intracellular fluid volume increase. So, but of intracellular fluid and extracellular fluid, the volume will be higher, but the osmolarity will be low or decrease. And what is our body do to this condition? The first is suppress secretion of antidiuretic. Then discouraging fluid intake. Why? Because the volume of water high. So if we drink more and more, this is a abnormal situation. And the third mechanism is increasing water losses by urination, by perspiration, by evaporation, and another. Now, this is three main case in our body. Nah, this is the next case in our body is overhydration or water excess or banyune kaken. Nah, the overhydration caused by some condition, yeah. The first, drinking large volume or injection to bloodstream of hypotonic solution. Drinking, what is the difference if we drink some water or fluid, then we get it by injection? So the if we cut it by injection, the volume will be increased just the extracellular fluid. In this, the mean of the location of extracellular fluid is bloodstream or plasma, yeah. But if we got water from drinking, it will process in all our body, so it not just the extracellular fluid, but also the intracellular fluid volume will be higher too. So the osmolarity or the osmolaritas both of extracellular fluid and intracellular fluid will be lower. Now, the second condition that cause overhydration is inability to eliminate excess water in urine. The failure of urination, in renal and heart failure, and another cause about the failure of urination, and the third caused by endocrine disorder, in this case by excessive antidiuretic or vasopressin production. Jadi bahasa Indonesianya produksi ADH yang berlebihan. Ekses itu berlebihan, ya, yang berlebih. Okay, I'll continue with using English. Nah, the concentration of low, the osmolarity low of sodium ion, we call it by hypoatremia. Nah, because the concentration in extracellular fluid lower, now the fluid in extracellular fluid will move to the intracellular fluid. What is the treatment for people that got overhydration? There are two, to treatment. The first is giving diuretic. In bahasa, ya, I will explain you in bahasa. Jadi diuretik itu kan lawannya dari antidiuretik. Nah, antidiuretik tadi itu menyebabkan kandungan air itu banyak kan. Nah, jadi kalau kita kasih dengan diuretik atau lawannya antidiuretik, maka tujuan utamanya adalah supaya sel di air di sel itu tidak banyak. Okay, I'll continue with English. Nah, the treatment is infusing, cut infuse, but the composition of infuse should high salt solution. It different with the previous case, in vomiting, in aqueous drink, and diarrhea. The infuse should contain much water, but in overhydration, the infuse should contain high salt solution, or we can call that the fluid of infusion has high osmolarity gradient. So why after we get infused with high osmolarity gradient, it will promote fluid shift from intracellular fluid to extracellular fluid. Nah, extracellular fluid, the osmolarity will be higher because it add by infuse, infuse at injection, it will send the electrolyte and ion to the blood vessel. Now, blood vessel is the component of extracellular fluid, so the extracellular fluid osmolarity gradient will be higher, and then the water will move from intracellular fluid that have a lower osmolarity to the extracellular fluid that have higher osmolarity because of the infuse injection, and it will be return natrium or sodium ion to the normal concentration. Nah, Are you understand it? I hope you can understand it. Yes. Okay, the next. Now this is the graphic ya, diagram, the picture of case. Now the first picture is hippo. Bentar. Wait. So this is the shock hypothalamic ya, excessive blood loss, waiting, vomiting, diarrhea. So it will increase decrease and concentration and decrease the osmolarity of nah interstitial fluid and plasma. Uh, they are the component of extracellular fluid. So the osmolarity of extracellular fluid will decrease, and water will move from um, HAF to EGF. So the condition will water intoxication, or this is overhydration ya. It can cause convulsion, coma, and will naudzubillah possible death. Nah, this is dehydration, and this is overhydration. So when we cut dehydration, the water lost more than the solutes in the cell, yeah. And if we cut overhydration, uh, we gain more water than the electrolyte or the solute. Now this is the condition, yeah. Okay, before we talk about potassium and sodium abnormality, I will explain to you what is sodium valence and what is potassium valence. Nah, this is the two main electrolyte in our water balance, which is sodium balance that contain natrium, and potassium balance contain kalium. Why we just talk about two electrolyte? You know that two electrolyte of sodium balance and potassium balance roles important play in our body. The first part of Na and kalium contribute to osmotic concentration in extracellular fluid or intracellular fluid. Now, the mechanism we will discuss it later. And the second, why the only natrium and kalium that we talk that roles important play in our body. Both of natrium and kalium can affect normal function at cell. As a sample, sodium with sodium chloride and sodium bicarbonate, NaCl and NaHCO3. Now, this is the table, the major electrolyte in our body. Sodium contain Na plus, natrium, and the plasma level about 136 until 142 milli per each liter, and the intracellular level low, yeah, just 10%, and the function of sodium electrolyte creates much of the osmotic pressure of intracellular fluid. The most abundant cation in extracellular fluid, cation. Yeah. So if there are a question, what is the most important higher cation in our extracellular fluid? The answer will be sodium or Na natrium. This electrolyte is essential for our electrical activity in neuron and muscle cells. Then there are potassium. Potassium. What is potassium? Potassium, the main electrolyte, the main potassium in our body is kalium. What is the difference? Sodium create osmolarity, osmotic pressure in extracellular fluid. Meanwhile, the potassium or the kalium creates much of osmotic pressure in intracellular fluid. The most abundant cation in intracellular fluid. So I hope you can you can know the difference between sodium, natrium, and potassium, kalium. Both of them have a similarity that Na or K have essential play for our electrical activity in our neuron and our muscle cells. Now, this is the mechanism. Now, I have two questions. The first, how sodium enters the extracellular fluid, and the second, and how sodium losses occur. Now, before I'll answer it, let's see this picture. Yeah. So hemostasis is disturbed when the natrium level increase in extracellular fluid. Nah, this condition we call will cause the osmoreceptor. The osmoreceptor in hypothalamus stimulate, or the osmolarity, osmoreceptor response to osmolarity. So if the osmoreceptor stimulate, the osmolarity of fluids will higher, because the osmoreceptor stimulate, the secretion of antidiuretic will increase, and stimulate, stimulate thirst and promoting water consumption. We will feel thirsty, and we want to drink more and more. And because the extracellular fluid osmolarity increase, and the water move from intracellular fluid to extracellular fluid and increase the volume, and make the osmolarity concentration of natrium in extracellular fluid lower, because the fluid moves from intracellular fluid to extracellular fluid. So homeostatic restored, and the Na level in extracellular fluid will be normal again, so the first question, how sodium enter the extracellular fluid? By passive transportation by using diffusion and Carrier mediate. This mechanism will help water or sodium enter the extracellular fluid, which is, we know that the membrane of cell of tissue contain of thick lipid, the double lipid bilayer. The lipid layer is double, so we call it bilayer, lipid bilayer. And how, the next question, how wait. How sodium loss occur? Now, by urination. The main roles urination in kidney and perspiration. Perspiration. What is perspiration? I have talked in many time that perspiration, it's gonna be sweating or evaporating, and another. So when the water intake in our cell higher, now we see if the water intake higher, so the osmolarity will lower, This is inhibited the osmolar receptor in hypothalamus. So, if the osmotic concentration or osmolarity under 2%, now the secretion of ADH will be inhibit, yeah. It will inhibit the secretion of ADH or antidiuretic or vasopressin that secreted by the posterior posterior hypophysis. We not feel thirsty, and the water losses the water losses at kidneys will stimulate, yeah. Urination will be stimulated, or maybe perspiration will be stimulated, and the water loss by urination or perspiration or sweating or evaporating will increase the osmolarity level of extracellular fluid, yeah, and it will return the NA level in extracellular fluid from lower to normal, and homeostatic happen in this situation. Okay, the next question is what happen when sodium gains exceed losses. Bahasa Indonesia, in bahasa Indonesia, the mean is apa yang akan terjadi ketika masukan dari sodium itu melebihi dari pengeluarannya. Nah, the first is the natrium level. Yeah, the osmolarity will be higher. I have talked in this graphic. So the example is if I eat soto or no, soto. If I eat kikil or salty meal, the salty meal contain much sodium, such as natrium and other, but I not drink with water, so the solid concentration, or we call it osmolarity level or osmolarity gradient, osmolarity pressure in extracellular fluid will be increased, yeah. But in intracellular fluid decrease, so the water will move, yeah, move from intracellular fluid to the extracellular fluid, which have a lower osmolarity, a higher osmolarity. I'm sorry. So the lower osmolarity or osmolarity gradient in intracellular fluid than extracellular fluid, it will make the water or the fluid from intracellular fluid will move to extracellular fluid. Nah, and the water enters in extracellular fluid, it can be elevating blood volume and pressure. So why we call it by high blood pressure, or Indonesia or in Japanese tekanan darah tinggi, ya. Now the second question is what happen if you eat much salt water. This is will rise the plasma concentration of natrium. Plasma concentration is we call it by extracellular fluid too, because the plasma concentration is the component of extracellular fluid. You know that extracellular fluid contain three component. The first, the bigger interstitial fluid. The second is plasma in bloodstream, and the third is major extracellular fluid, such as lymph, synovial fluid, aqueous, paralymph, and another. Okay, so antidiuretic will be secreted and stimulate us to drink and to be thirsty. Yeah, this is the water. Okay, and this is the same picture with in previous slide. So we skip it. Now, this is the complete, the integration of fluid volume regulation and sodium ion concentration by body fluid. This is the termination. If we eat, higher salt without water. Mm, so the homeostasis will disturb, and the volume in extracellular fluid will increase, ya, increase blood volume and arterial distension. So the blood volume higher, volume, ya, is we can say it with the osmolarity. If the rising SAF is water, so the osmolarity will be lower. But if the rising SAF conduct by natrium or sodium, the osmolarity will be higher. And this is the mechanism, yeah. Uh, because it depend to blood pressure and volume. So the main hormone that play a role in this circuit is ANP, ya, or neuritic peptides that secrete in muscle cardiac, ya, because of the abnormality of blood volume and arterial distension, volume darah dan tekanan nadi. Now potassium valence. Now, the wonderful fact that 98% of the body potassium is in intracellular fluid. Now, the major gain or the way we got potassium by digestive tract absorption, and major loss by excretion or urination in kidney. Yeah? And there are three factors that rate of secretion of potassium. The first is change kalium concentration in extracellular fluid. The second is change in pH, and the third is there are main hormone, we call it by aldosterone, that secrete in cortex medulla, adrenal, ya, aldosterone. Cortex adrenal located in superior kidney, ya. There are twin couple in left and in right. Okay, the first change kalium concentration in extracellular fluid, high potassium diet or high intake of potassium will increase the kalium level in HCF. So it promote kalium enter in the collecting duct below the DCT, ya, collecting tubulus, ya, and the located in the principal cells of collecting duct and stimulate secretion of kalium more and more. And the second is change in pH. When the pH of ECF low, the pH in tubular fluid, so it talking about the kidney, and the red potassium, it will increase the potassium secretion declines, so hydrogen ion and potassium are secreted. And the third is aldosterone hormone, ya. Nah, the normal when the blood plasma, ya, higher in plasma, ya, when the concentration kalium in plasma higher, aldosterone will be secreted in the blood, ya, then stimulate principal renal collection and secrete more kalium in renal. So the excess K plus or kelebihan K lost in urine dan bisa dibuang, ya, di urine. Conversely, when plasma concentration is low, aldosterone decrease and less kalium is extracted in urine. Now you know that calcium is very very important to in our repolarization or the mechanism our muscle can be contract as we know that in our muscle ya in tubulus no no in our repolarization it the Kalium is important ya and be lethal if the high concentration in kalium fluid, we call it by hyperkalemia, and it can cause death due to ventricular fibrillation. It is the same ya. Now this is the mechanism, the role of aldosterone sensitive. This is in DCT ya. The in tubular fluid or in interstitial fluid ya. Ya. This is intracellular fluid will gain more kalium. As we know in the description that potassium locate mainly higher in intracellular fluid. So by aldosterone sensitive exchange pump yeah, it will gain kalium from extracellular fluid. And you know that natrium or sodium balance yeah, we talk it in slide sodium balance. The higher concentration is in ACF yeah, extracellular fluid. So with the aldosterone sensitive change pump, the natrium in intracellular fluid will move to the extracellular fluid. It also with the same mechanism to sodium potassium exchange pump. Nah, in the collecting, I say DCT, I mean distal convolute tubulate and collecting that above the DCT. It rolls potassium balance in the DCT same ya, the exchange of K and Na ya. K will pump from extracellular fluid to the intracellular fluid or tubular fluid, and the natrium will pump out from intracellular cell or tubular fluid into the extracellular fluid. Nah, in the collecting duct, when the pH falls in the HCF concentration is relatively high. Now, it will be exchange ya. The natrium still same, extracellular fluid still need natrium, but in and to stability in the tubular fluid or intercellular fluid will gain more hydrogen ion ya. Nah, this is the factor that control ya. And the first kalium pump ya, pump from intracellular bentar. Wait. The kalium this is extracellular fluid, yeah, the green is extracellular fluid, and this is intracellular fluid. So by aldosterone pump, yeah, exchange pump will promote or stimulate accretion of kalium plus kalium from wait. From extracellular fluid to intracellular fluid, as you know that potassium highly in intracellular fluid. Nah, this is the concentration. This is the intracellular fluid, the natrium pump ya, pump. This is the main gain ya, main gain potassium gain from digestive system, reabsorb K plus and K plus in wait. K plus in extracellular fluid will pump to the intracellular fluid, and in the natrium in the intracellular fluid will pump out to extracellular fluid. Okay, this is the main concept of factor involved in potassium balance. Nah, this is abnormality of potassium. The first is hypokalemia. When the plasma concentration potassium low, or the osmolarity concentration low, called hypokalemia. The efeknya, the factor that promoting hypokalemia. The first endocrine disorder called aldosteronism. So this cause aldosteronism, excessive aldosterone secretion. So it will promote the loss of sodium and potassium, overstimulating, but because due to the excess ADH secretion or aldosteronism. Nah, if the concentration higher, we can call it by hyperkalemia. The higher concentration exist in our body the factornya, the first is low body fluid in our body. It will intervene with kalium excretion at the kidney, and the second factor that cause hyperkalemia is the failure of kidney in tubulus duct to normal K plus secretion, and some drug promote diuresis or pengeluaran air yang berlebihan and blocking natrium reabsorption. So the concentration because of diuresis, the osmotic concentration in intracellular fluid will higher. Nah, let's go back to previous slide. Nah, this is the summary of cause and consequence of electrolyte weakness. Nah, the sodium hypernatremia, hyper axis hyper when the natrium concentration in Na axis, and hypo it means the opposite for opposite of hypernatremia, hyponatremia, when the natrium deficit under 135 milli per liter Nah, hypernatremia will cause dehydration because the osmolarity level osmolarity higher, so it will promote dehydration and stimulate water intake. So the consequence is thirst thirst. After we drink much of water, the osmolarity will be lower ya, lower go to normal, and hyponatremia is the opposite from hypernatremia. It same too with the potassium. The potassium, the main roles, the main ion is kalium ya. Hiperkalemia if kalium excess or kalium yang berlebihan in bahasa more than 5.5 milliliter per milli per liter. It can be caused by renal failure, deficit of aldosterone, intravenous infusion ya. It will be cause nurse, vomiting, muntah-muntah, diarrhea, and another ya, cardiac arrhythmia atau or in Indonesia gangguan irama jantung, depression, rash, skeletal motion weakness, and paralysis. You know that skeletal muscle weakness it be happen if the kalium exists ya. You know, in the repolarization of our muscle, the ion channel of kalium close but the Ca open. So if the K too much ya in body, it will not it will inhibit the repolarization, so it create the weakness of skeletal muscle. And hypokalemia is the opposite of hyperkalemia. The level of kalium in intracellular fluid deficitnya it's gonna be caused by gastrointestinal tract disturbance, vomiting, diarrhea, syndrome Cushing, inadequate daily intake, and hyperaldosteronism, diuretic therapy. Now it will be cardiac arrhythmias, fatty wave, muscular weakness, alkalosis, or in bahasa kondisi tubuh terlalu asam ya, mental confusion and vomiting. Okay. I think enough ya about my video, and this is the reference book that I use in this video. Okay, that's enough from me. Thank you for your attention. See you in next video, and goodbye. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.